And welcome back to our second album review here on The Country Critics. I'm Garth. He's Chris.
I'm Chris.
You killed it.
I killed it.
You killed it. I'm introing you.
Oh.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, album review today, we're looking at Kelsea Ballerini's third album, self-titled Kelsea. And I can already tell you, we have very different opinions on this album. Doesn't surprise me that, It does surprise me a bit. But let's go ahead and get into this album because personally, I think this is pop country at its best. I've had this album on repeat since Friday when it came out. This music, to me, encapsulates what pop country should be. Pop and country are two completely different music styles. Pop is much more of an upbeat, high-tempo, party kind of thing when it's at its best, and generally the songwriting doesn't have too much to it. It's just meant to be something generic to get you feeling good, to get you partying, that kind of thing. There are exceptions to that rule. There are some good pop songs that have some good writing to them, but overall, that's generally what pop is when it's at its best. Country, on the other hand, the songwriting is very intricate when country is at its best. Songwriting is a mainstay for country, and country has a much different sound than pop does, unless we're talking about pop country. Where, to me, most of pop country falls short is when they try to combine the two genres in the wrong ways. To me, I think pop country is at its best when it is more pop and less country. Because when you try to infuse country sounds into a pop sound, it just doesn't sound right. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
So,
and I agree with what you're saying, but the two different tastes in what you think is good pop country or country pop versus pop or country, let me tell you, pop stays in a can, or you drink pop from a can, depending on where you are.
Right.
And country is more than a place to go see what an animal looks like.
Okay, so my point being that what the Kelsea Ballerini form of pop country, at least on this album, has a pop sound to it. There's very little country.
Oh, no doubt.
There's very little country sound to it. The country influence in this, to me, comes from some very good songwriting. To me, lyrically, most of these songs are very deep. They do what songwriting in country music is supposed to be. They take you to a different place. They make you feel something. And while it does have the pop sound, it is very much pop country. I think on this album, Kelsea has done a fantastic job of merging pop and country in the right way. It sounds like pop, but lyrically it is more country because it's deeper and the lyrics have more of a meaning.
I read up on her a little bit, and it seems that with this being her third album, she's taken more of a lead in the process with more songwriting, more producing, more crafting of her sound. I don't know what the first two albums sounded like, but if they were more pop and less country, then she needs to, or vice versa, she needs to find one direction and stick with it.
Right.
If she wants to be a pop sensation, go be a pop sensation. If she wants to be a crossover artist, then you're going to have to get something more than what she had in terms of depth on this album. She's going to have to make something that's a bit more mainstream.
I disagree because I think, like I said, I think this is pop country done the right way. I think this is the best pop country we've had in maybe since Taylor Swift was still calling herself country. I mean, look at the Lauren Elena album we looked at last week. I think we can both agree that was not very good because I think the biggest difference in the Lauren Elena album and this Kelsea Ballerini album is Lauren tried to make it sound more country and didn't just let it do what it was supposed to do, being pop country, and sound like pop.
it was very machine produced.
Yes.
Whereas the Kelsea Ballerini album seems well produced, but very contrived. It felt
How so?
forced. It felt forced. It just felt like I'm gonna write songs about what I know, and I don't know very much, so I'm gonna force lyrics to fit.
See,
I'm gonna force different ideals. No, I'm not going to force any different kind of a viewpoint. It was a very, I don't want to say introspective. That's too strong of a word. It was looking in the rearview mirror at the last 5 years of her life.
See, I don't know about that because I think
I got this feeling that with just reading the lyrics as the songs were playing, it was a lot about looking back on your hometown, your high school. You know, I'm sorry. There's more to life than that.
No, I agree. But look at something like L.A., which is personally my favorite track on this album. I vibed so hard with L.A. I love this song.
Now, that is not one I would have figured you for.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Okay. So this one specifically, there were two sets of lines in this song that I really, the first time I listened to this song, hit me right here because it's literally things that I have dealt with in recent years. One of those sets of lines was where she says, "I've got some famous friends I could call, but I don't know if I'm cool enough. And what's worse than spending time alone is one of them not picking up." Literally, personally me, I have some fairly famous NASCAR driver friends at this point from other stuff that I do. And that's something that I personally struggle with is, am I cool enough to call them when I'm in Charlotte and say, hey, let's hang out? Or is this just something that we're friends when we're at the racetrack, but outside of that, maybe I'm not cool enough to hang out with them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, I know what you're saying.
And then there was, I don't remember exactly the wording of the lines, but then a few lines after that she was talking about being at a party with bigger names than her and not knowing how to start up conversations and wondering what she's doing there, if she'll know anybody, that kind of thing. And I've been in that situation also in the NASCAR world. Parties aren't necessarily my scene, so that made it extra difficult. But so that song 100% jived with me. And no, I've never been to LA, but I don't know that you can look at that as necessarily 100% LA the place. LA, I think you can look at that in this song as being more of a state of mind. The kind of far off place where all these bigger names, these rich people, these famous people live, the world that you want to be in, and wondering if that's actually the life you want, if you want to go there, if you'll hurt the people back home if you do go there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've been to LA. It's big, it's sprawling, it's traffic, it's a lot of stuff. I've been to Century City, I've been to Hollywood, I've been to Beverly Hills, and while it can be intimidating at first, it's either for you or it's not for you. You can't go around a city like LA and continually question yourself. You're either going to step up to the big leagues and nothing will bother you and you change your persona, or you're going to say, this is not for me, I'm going somewhere else.
Right.
And whether that's, a California state of mind, a New York, a Nashville, whatever major area sets the scene for where you feel most comfortable, that's where your state of mind is going to go.
Right.
LA, just the way it was presented to me, I just came away with the feeling of, man, it must be hard to be famous. I'm not going to give much sympathy on that. It's her third album. She's a big name. If you're feeling awkward going into this, then you need to step back and go, why am I still doing what I'm doing?
Well, and I don't know if it's so much about the feeling awkward as it is just It's being real about anxiety, which all of us face anxiety, and that's something that I don't think is covered a lot in music, and I think that was something we saw a lot of in this album, is coming to terms with having anxiety and trying to figure out life and how to get around that anxiety.
Yeah, I read that in the liner notes, and I don't know. I guess, it's not really a subject that I feel needs broached, and especially so many times in one album. I can understand having one really good in-depth track.
Well, that's kind of the theme of the album, though. That's the thing, is good albums have a theme. It's not necessarily each track is different. The whole album's got to be connected in some way for it to be a good album. And I think that's the overarching theme here, is anxiety and how to deal with it. Now, do I want every Kelsea Ballerini album to be like this, or do I want a bunch of albums all of a sudden to be about dealing with anxiety? No, but to have one album that digs deep into that subject and makes you come to terms with your own anxiety, I think that's great.
Well, I'm gonna agree to a point that an album should have a central theme, yes. But given the subject matter, a lot of the lyrics, such as, referencing, I forget which track it was, but The Other Girl, I noticed insecurity seems to reign supreme. And also put the title on there. Is this a song about anxiety, insecurities, or is this an album about her? She's titled it with her own name, so we're not talking it's a self-titled debut. This is her third album.
Mm-hmm.
So she's gotten past the sophomore slump because she's been able to produce this, and this doesn't just sound like an album that was thrown together to please the label.
Mm-hmm.
This actually does have a theme to it, like you said. But what's it about? Is it about dealing with things that hold you back, maybe keep you from looking at things in a different perspective because you're so focused on the way you've always done things? Or is this an album about her and she's professing her own experiences onto the listener? And I want you to feel the same way as I feel when I wrote these lyrics.
Okay, fair enough. I have a point to make about The Other Girl. I did like this song, but I have a point to make about it, because The Other Girl is essentially Halsey, which is a big pop artist right now. She has her duetting with her on this song, and it's essentially about both she and Halsey are dating the same guy, and they're trying to figure out essentially who's the side chick and who's the main girlfriend. And I gotta say, if you're both asking who's the other girl, you're probably both the other girl.
Yeah, because that means there's a third.
There's either a third, or he's not fully committed to either one of you.
Right, and that song just came off to me as shallow.
A little bit, yeah. Like I said, I liked it, but yeah, I agree. I think it was a bit shallow.
It was very shallow.
Yeah.
And I'm just, I guess, we're actually covering the songs. We're not going in numerical order here, and maybe that's a good thing. We'll keep changing up the process. But one of them that I really found that really had me at the beginning, lost me, but still had me paying attention, I guess. You always want to come out, getting out of the gate, you want to grab somebody's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And the song that really grabbed my attention the most was Love and Hate.
Okay.
And it was a great opener.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was set in kind of a vague sense. You didn't really know where this was going. Because this was one of those things that it was like, it had this kind of a real singer-songwriter feel to it. It had...
And that's one point I want to make about this whole album. Kelsea either co-wrote or outright wrote every song on this album.
And I think that's an admirable quality to have. Mm-hmm. And getting back to this particular track, it almost, in that opening, it wasn't really a verse, but it was kind of just an attention getter.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, it had an almost save the world type of air.
Yeah.
Because it felt like an attitude being professed.
Mm-hmm.
An attitude of positivity, avoiding negativity, changing your mindset, changing the way you treat people. And then it lost me when the verse started because she made it about a breakup.
Yeah.
This could have gone with loving, not to be a religious overtone, but it could be about loving family. It could be about, are you even thinking about the man on the street begging for change? Or do you hate the fact that he's out there and you have to see him and deal with avoiding him? What are you doing? When she made it about a breakup, it lost me. But I will say it's a very well-crafted breakup, love gone wrong song. Now, admittedly, I would say it was the best song on the album in chronological order of track listing. So up to that point, you're almost 7 tracks in. That one, to me, was so far the best track of the first 7.
I'm actually going to disagree with that. That, to me, was one of the more forgettable songs on this album. I liked it, but at the same time, like, if I had to pick the best songs on the album, that would not be in my top 5. In terms of other songs that I liked on this album, I really, I kind of jived with the first couple songs on the album. Both Overshare and Club I thought were pretty good. Club, I think, was one that, in fact, both of them, I think, were songs that I think I jived with them because, like L.A., there were things in the lyrics that felt real to me, things that, like, I may not necessarily directly deal with all the time, but it's definitely something that I have dealt with. Like Club, for instance, I've never been the kind of person to party. I don't like going to clubs. That's just not me. And that's essentially what she talks about on here. She's like, I'll hang out with my friends. I'll go to a party here and there, but I don't want to go to the club. She's like, the club feels fake. I don't want to watch everybody trying to hook up. And, like, I get that. And
yeah.
It felt real to me because that essentially is me.
Yeah, I didn't care for Club. I just kind of basically felt like she was whining. It's just complaining that everybody wants to do what I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this. It was just another I song, and that's where it really got me. Starting with Overshare right out of the gate, I was just like, this is the person that talks all day and doesn't say anything.
Not knowing Kelsea personally at all, I feel like that probably is a pretty good description of her.
This would be the female in Toby Keith's I Want to Talk About Me.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to. I don't know, right out of the gate, you want to sing a song about yourself and all the talking you do, and conversations make me anxious, but silence doesn't do me any good. Well, make up your mind. Well, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
Grated my nerves right out of the gate.
Well, see, and the thing with Overshare, besides the fact that it felt fairly real to me, like Club in L.A. did. I liked what she did with all of the alliteration, with all of the words that started with over that she put in there. I feel like to you that would be something that would get annoying, but I actually kind of like that alliteration that she did, throwing words that start with over in literally in almost every line.
Yeah, that gets on my nerves. I don't like the fact if you open a song with the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like when you rhyme the same word twice in the same verse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like when you overuse certain words, such as the alliteration that you've referenced. I didn't pick up on that right away because one, I don't think I'm the target audience for this album.
No, I don't think you are.
Two, I was taking a lot of the lyrics at face value with as I listened and read the lyrics. I was just coming right back to TMI. She even references TMI, and I'm going, if you have to reference TMI, then it is.
I think that's the point, though, is she's admitting that she can do that, and she's like, okay, this is me, I do this.
I don't need to know that. This is like my Get to Know You album. If this were my first introduction to her, which it was.
But that's the thing, though. For a lot of people, this isn't the Get to Know Her album because it's her third album.
I don't want to go back and listen to the first two.
Well, okay, I'm going to put it this way. I think this is her best album yet. So, if you didn't like
some of the review critics said also.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So, if you didn't like this one, probably wouldn't recommend going back to listen to the first two.
Again, not a young 20-something female.
Yeah.
That's what this is geared
Do
toward.
I look like a young 20-something female?
You know, we don't have time to discuss that right now. There's nothing funny down that road.
Oh, there's not, huh?
A Homecoming Queen. How much...
That was the intro single off of this album.
I'm glad I didn't have the FM on that day.
Okay, so, for reference, the 3 singles so far off this album are Homecoming Queen, Club, and L.A. is the new single.
L.A., huh?
Yep.
Well, again, like I said, you drink pop from a can, and country is where city folk go to see animals.
Yep.
It left me flat, to be honest. It was just another pop album. Country got in there twice. How it's not labeled as a pop album and played on the Hot Hits radio station.
Okay. So you said country got in there twice. What songs do you consider country?
Oh, let's see here. Let me of course, Hole in the Bottle.
Really? I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily consider that more country than some of the other songs on here.
Oh yeah. Hole in the Bottle to me was your up-tempo country song that...
I mean, I'm not going to disagree. It just wouldn't have been the first song I thought of to call country on this album.
Yeah, let's see here. I had...
Half of My Hometown. That's probably the most country song I would have said on this album. Would have been Half of My Hometown.
Yeah, I guess that's the one because I didn't actually reference the fact that it was a country song. That one, the duet
with Kenny Chesney.
About My Hometown for a minute. The duet with Kenny Chesney actually helped this one. It didn't sound like she was just whining about not being in her hometown and things that went on. Mm-hmm. I am not the kind of person to go back to my hometown, stick around and catch up with people I went to high school with. You know what? I actually only have 3 people that I went to high school with, and we graduated in 96.
I don't think, though, that you necessarily... your hometown where you went to high school, I don't know that I would necessarily call that the typical town that gets sung about in these kind of country songs.
No, they're singing about a town that's...
Like, I feel like I'm from somewhere that would be closer to that than where you were from.
Oh, I think your town's even too big.
Probably, yeah.
I think we're talking, it's a town of 1,100 people.
Yeah.
You know, it's the country, the county school where they bust them in from everywhere.
Yep.
Because it was all farming communities kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally don't live that way. I don't want to recall what it was like when I was 17. And I literally have one friend from the high school days that he and I will share jokes and memories about us goofing off as teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the only one. I don't go back for football games. I don't get out my yearbooks. I don't care. Again, I'm not the audience for this album.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more the audience for a Dwight Yoakam album. I'm more the audience for a Chris Stapleton album, not Kelsea Ballerini of any sort. And so, like I said, Kenny Chesney helped on that one, and I think last week I even said that I gave him a 6.5 for the Throwback Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So we know where I stand with Kenny Chesney.
Honestly, where you stand with Kenny Chesney is better than where I thought you stood with Kenny Chesney.
Well, it's still not super high, but "Hole in the Bottle" was one of 2 songs on the album that I thought should be listened to more than once.
Okay.
The other one being "Love and Hate."
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was looking for country songs on a pop country album. I mean, I wrote one word down for "The Way I Used to."
Yeah.
And that word was forgettable.
I don't know that I'd necessarily call "The Way I Used to" forgettable. Was it one of my favorite songs on the album? No, but I think it was a pretty decent song. It was a song about, like, she's broken up with this guy, very recently broken up with this guy, and she's, like, trying to figure out if he's got a new girl, if she does the same things that she did, if she does them better. Like, it's more of like a drunk jealousy kind of thing. I'm sure you disagree with this, but I felt like it came from a pretty real place. Like I said, not one of my favorite songs on the album, not something I would continuously listen to, but at the same time I can respect it.
I couldn't even go that far with it. I just kind of glossed right through it. It didn't strike me with anything that hadn't already been done before. It just felt like, it was just thrown out there, put to a beat, and this is what came out.
Now,
I was not impressed.
Now, I'll tell you the 2 songs that I thought were the most forgettable on this album, which I think were "Homecoming Queen," which I haven't liked since the second she released it. I never have liked that song. And "A Country Song," the 12th track.
I'm in complete 100% agreement with both tracks.
"A Country Song," that one, if there's a forgettable track on this album, that is the forgettable track to me, because I really don't remember anything about it.
It's funny, I wrote down another song about hometown drinking, calling mom. This song feels too contrived.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, let's get more cliche with it here. 13 tracks on this album. This could have been boiled down to having 9 good tracks.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple that could have been kicked out, and this still could have been a full-length album, and I feel like it would have been better. I feel like you could have kicked out "Homecoming Queen," you could have kicked out "A Country Song," you probably could have kicked out "The Way I Used to." I'm kind of on the fence with that one, but otherwise, if you kick out those 2 or 3 songs, I feel like this would have been a better album.
I thought another one that was kind of superfluous was "Love Me Like a Girl."
Oh, yeah, that one too. Yeah. I didn't think that song was terrible, but yeah, I wouldn't have shed any tears had that song not made the cut.
I didn't understand the premise behind a country song when you've already had "Hole in the Bottle" followed by "My Hometown." This song, a country song, was just duplicity.
Yeah.
Didn't really need it.
Now, one song that I thought was interesting on this album was the 7th track, "Bragger." Had a very different sound to everything else in this album. Had a very pop sound. Probably the most pop-sounding song on the album. And I actually really liked the sound. It reminded me of... You probably don't listen to Maroon 5, do you?
That is correct.
It reminded me of Maroon 5's song "Moves Like Jagger" with Christina Aguilera, which is a song...
So that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
I learned something today.
Yeah, which, honestly, I think "Moves Like Jagger," probably one of my favorite Maroon 5 songs. To have Bragger remind me of "Moves Like Jagger," and honestly, I feel like Bragger is like the female version of "Moves Like Jagger." Like, "Moves Like Jagger" is more from the male point of view, whereas Bragger is the female point of view of essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
Which may have been what she was going for here, because she does name drop Jagger in there.
Yes, she does. I had to back up and re-listen to that. Did she say Jagger?
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. So that one got my attention immediately. And while I won't say it's my favorite song in the album, I did really enjoy that one.
The other one I thought that really was kind of duplicity on the album again was Needy. You're going to sing Overshare, and Overshare is already TMI about yourself. What is Needy? You know?
I'll agree with that. Needy felt very much the same as Overshare. I didn't see a lot of difference in those two songs.
Yeah, I didn't either. So again, you know, kind of the lower half of the album could really have been, you know, boiled down. There's two in the bottom five that could come out really easily.
As long as you don't kick out L.A., I'm okay with that.
L.A. would be a good closing track, though. If we took out four, a country song, Needy, Love Me Like a Girl, or The Way I Used to, and Homecoming Queen, you boil that down to 9 tracks, you've got a solid album there. I felt it got, even for only a 39-minute album, it felt like it was just going through the motions on a couple of tracks. Well, if you don't like Overshare, maybe they'll like Needy.
See, and going back to Love Me Like a Girl, that one felt kind of weird to me in the sense of she's essentially, the point of that was she doesn't like him being distant like most men, essentially in her words, that most men are distant, and she wants you to be a lot more open like her female friends, and she's saying love me like a girl. Essentially what I got from that was she was saying, I don't want to be a lesbian, but I want to be with a girl.
Yeah, I couldn't even get the vibe out of it that don't treat me like one of the guys.
Yeah.
Love me like I'm a girl. Notice me for being a woman, a female.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just, you know, have me drinking beer and brats with you and your buddies at a game.
Right.
I didn't even get that vibe from it. Take that off, maybe shelve it, put it on a B-sides and rarities.
I don't think those are things anymore.
Oh, sure. There's always collections, especially if the label owns your albums and you leave and go on to another record deal. They still want money. They'll find stuff.
That's the thing, though. I don't think greatest hits albums or anything like that are really much of a thing anymore. I couldn't tell you the last greatest hits album I actually saw.
Didn't Garth release one there a few years ago?
Yeah, but Garth's kind of his own thing. He's more of... essentially, Garth is a marketing machine at this point.
Well, yeah. I'm not going to argue that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Successful, yes.
Right. Whereas, I'm not going to say he's not an artist anymore, because he is still putting out music, and some of it's good. He's more in the business of marketing everything as much as possible, getting different deals. Like, he's still got a deal with Amazon where they're the only place that you can stream his music. And I'm pretty sure he's still got a deal with Walmart where they're the only place you can buy his CDs.
Yeah, there was that deal, what was it, that he did with Target there a few years ago.
I don't remember a deal with Target. As far as I know, it's always been with Walmart.
Maybe it was Walmart.
Yeah.
But it was one of the big box retailers.
Yeah.
But on the whole, you know, this album, even for 39 minutes, it gets a little long-winded, talking about herself. I'll give it a solid 3.
Ooh, that low?
Yeah, that low.
Man, we really are on opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm going to give it a 9.
Wow. You are much more gracious than I am.
I like this album. I really like this album. Huh?
Maybe you give out numbers too easily, and maybe I don't give out numbers as good as I should.
Well, no, because we were fairly close on most of our numbers last week.
But you found a lot more in there, and there were songs that you identified with, that they struck a chord with you.
I mean, I've had L.A. on repeat ever since this album came out. I had not heard L.A. on the radio yet. I didn't even realize it was a single. I heard it for the first time, my first listen through on this album, and I've had it on repeat ever since. I love that song.
You know, I'm not a pop music, I'm not a pop country fanatic. I don't really enjoy it.
Well, and like I said in the beginning of this, I agree with that for the most part. Most pop country is not good because they do it in the wrong way. I think this is pop country done right, or at least the best that you can do pop country.
Yeah, and that may be true. I don't have enough pop country songs that I could even reference off the top of my head to say this is good, this is bad, this could have been produced way better than it actually was. But going with this one and last week's album, it's just I don't know, it just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth that this is not country. It's not it's not a Nashville sound, it's not a Bakersfield sound. It's a machined industry produced
I mean,
sound.
it's 100% an LA sound. There's no way around that.
Yeah, that's not country. I would never go to LA to listen to
But that's
country.
why it's pop country and not labeled just country.
Well, just put it on the pop station and let it fly.
That's true. I mean,
Just put it on the pop
I
station.
will agree. I'm not a huge fan of crossing over genres like this because that's been the big push in recent years. Is they're trying to break the boundaries of genres and just say artists make whatever you want to make. It doesn't matter the sound. Genres be damned, essentially. Which, to an extent, that's okay, but at the same time, I think we need genre boundaries.
Oh, absolutely. You don't want a blues musician trying to rebrand himself or formulate himself as a pop sensation. Let's go back to Garth Brooks for a minute. Look at the life of Chris Gaines.
Mm-hmm.
How well was that received versus
Not well.
what he did?
But I think that was more well received before everybody realized it was Garth.
Sure. But then once they realized it was Garth, did they not feel betrayed?
Yeah. Oh, 100% they did.
So if you feel betrayed, are you going to go back? Would you want to listen to, and I know you've probably never heard of this musician outside of listening to me talk, but would you want to hear Joe Bonamassa release a country album?
I don't know. I've never listened to Joe Bonamassa. I don't know if I'd want him to do country or not.
Exactly, but he did go to Nashville. He did do songwriting sessions with Vince Gill, recorded a track with Vince Gill, and it sounded very country. It didn't. The album on the whole did not hold as much benefit for me as a fan as it.
Because it didn't sound like he normally does what you were used to.
The majority of the album, yes, still does have that blues rock sound, but it's not the way you would think that it would be. Good collaborations come in the form of don't try to rebrand yourself. Be a featured artist with someone that's established. A great example of that would be Jack White of the White Stripes and also the Raconteurs performing with Loretta Lynn in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Portland, Oregon is a fantastic track to say this is a collaborative effort. It was not Jack White trying to release a country album, nor was it Loretta Lynn trying to reinvent herself. This was a true collaborative effort, and that's how even in her early 70s, Loretta Lynn still had a little weight to throw around. There was still something in the tank there that could be done, and whereas with My Hometown, a duet with Kenny Chesney, Kelsea Ballerini is saying, "Hey, look, this is how I'm going. This is what I'm doing." But to bring Kenny Chesney in made the song more dimensional.
Well, and I think the coolest thing about that song, and you probably didn't pick this up because you probably don't know this, both Kelsea and Kenny are from the same hometown. They're both from Knoxville. So I think that was
the reference to Knoxville.
Yeah. So I think that was a cooler point to have Kenny on there, was the fact that they're both from the same place, so they can both sing about the same hometown.
Yeah, and that that's probably a good selling point for them or fans. It wouldn't surprise me what that's another one that comes out as a single.
I could see that. Maybe the last single, because I could see there being probably 4 singles off this album before she moves on to the next one.
Four, maybe 5, depending on how much time she wants to spend touring and how much material she has for starting the next album.
Right.
They might try to squeeze a 5th out of it, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah. If there were to be a 5th, let's say Half of My Hometown was the 4th. If there were to be a 5th, which one do you think it would be?
Oh, let's see. You said she's already released...
She's already released Homecoming Queen, Club, and L.A.
Well, let's see. If we were to do My Hometown as a 4th, quite possibly either Love and Hate as a ballad or Overshare to continue that pop feel.
Okay. I could see that. Although, I feel like if you're going to continue the pop feel, personally, I would go with Bragger.
Well, yeah, you could have a point there, too, and I failed to write that one down. I probably got caught up in something else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that could be a possible single as well.
All right, so that is our album review of Kelsea Ballerini's self-titled album, Kelsea, which, by the way, that is a lowercase Kelsea. There are no capital letters in any of this at all, besides Kenny Chesney and Halsey's name. Those are the only things capitalized on this entire album.
All right, is she paying homage to K.D. Lang there with no capital letters? Well, I think that pretty much sums up our album review for tonight.
It does. So, if I gave it a 9 and you gave it a 3, that averages to a 6, if I'm not mistaken, yes. Which is better than what we gave Lauren Elena, because I believe that averaged to, what, a 3.5?
I think so, yeah.
Which, personally, I think 6 is still a little too low, and obviously you think it's too high, so that's probably about right. So yeah, our combined score for Kelsea Ballerini Kelsea is 6. That is the Country Critics rating. So definitely be sure to tune in next Saturday for our next album review. Not going to spoil what that one will be, but again, it will be, of course, a new album that has just been released. So you may be able to figure it out, you may not. You'll have to wait till Saturday. And then, of course, Tuesday will be our new music reaction for the week, and then Thursday will be a Throwback Thursday reaction. We had a lot of fun with that one this last week, so you can imagine what kind of fun we'll have with that this week.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure everyone is on pins and needles, just like Chris.
I sit on a throne of needles.
That sounds painful.
With pins.
That sounds painful. All right, so that is album review for the week. Kelsea Ballerini Kelsea. Like I said, tune in next Saturday for our next album review. Tuesday for new music reaction, and Thursday for Throwback Thursday reaction. At that, this has been the Country Critics. Make sure you are subscribed. You got the bell turned on for notifications so you don't miss anything going forward from the Country Critics. Hit that thumbs up button so the YouTube algorithm knows that you like us, and share it around. That is another thing the YouTube algorithm likes, so definitely do that for us as well. But at that, I'm Garth, he's Chris, and we are the Country Critics. We'll see you on Tuesday for our new music reaction.
Next time.